Well, good morning. Glad to be here. I've been asked to mend your mind. I'm not a mentalist, but I'm going to try to be a mind yogi, I guess, this morning. There were some questions regarding devices, and I almost feel like my talk is going to continue where the previous speaker left off. If you think about the world we are in, I live in the Silicon Valley, the land where many exciting new technologies are being invented. A few years ago, I remember seeing some of these technologies in the lab, whether it's virtual reality or augmented reality, driverless cars, smart watches, smart devices, wearables, even vending machines, or robotics. Well, these technologies are no longer in the labs. They're now here, they're touching our lives. And what I call the life and work are two ends of a rope. One person's life is changed by another person's work. And how these technologies are coming into lives and our work are highly impactful. In my talk, I'm going to talk about how this creates a significant opportunity that we have never seen, especially for service providers and, or if you're managing your workforce experience, a need to change. Now, when it comes to some of these disruptions, us as human beings are actually pretty good at adopting them. There is one issue, which is where the mind bending comes in. But before I talk about the issue, let me take you back in time when some massive disruptive technologies came into our lives and our work, and how quickly we embraced them. And I'm going to use those analogies throughout these talk. Let's start way back with electricity. Clearly, one we adopted across a range of our lives, personal lives, as well as work. Television. In this room, probably telco and telecommunications. Well, coming into more modern times, maybe PC. Also, maybe a little bit more modern internet. To me, each of these four technologies had significant impact on our lives and our work. The adoption of these technologies, while it wasn't difficult, because there was no one who was obstructing it. There was no people who were working against it. Until, within IT, within work, another technology called mobile came in. This was the first time where the whole consumerization and digitization started. We talked about it. The emergence of micro applications, the special purpose applications that were built, and from there on, explosion of devices. Within IT, the world of end user computing, world of workplace and workspace fundamentally changed when this happened. How we work now versus how we worked before this, 2007, about 10 years ago, is significantly different. We work in micro moments where at any given point we are working and another second we are on our phones, just like probably many of you right now. Now, at the same time, a significant issue occurred within our IT environments for our customers serving their employees. To embrace this technology after saying no for a long time, IT embraced it by creating silos. I can't think of any customer I know who doesn't have these silos. A technology that was established to empower people using the PCs with a structured way of delivering very well-defined singular type of applications onto those devices. The emergence of web and cloud led to adoption of SaaS, not necessarily by IT, but by consumers, by end users, by lines of businesses themselves, and IT having no choice but to embrace them, to secure them. And then with mobile came yet another silo technology which created a way on how to secure mobile devices, often called mobile device management, probably something that you all serve to your end users and customers. Maybe one or all of these services are available in your silos as well. Well, unfortunately, we ain't seen nothing yet. The devices, the technologies that are here and coming into workplace will only create more silos. Is that the definition of modern IT? Is it really modern when we are simply creating silos to solve problems? Is that what's going to serve all of these new technologies that are coming our way? I don't believe so. This is where new winners will emerge, in our opinion, and this is where us as VMware has been investing. Now, I'm not going to necessarily talk a lot about our products. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to win. Clearly, this is a multi-billion device and access opportunity. There are over 2 billion devices at this point in time that are connected to work and enterprises, not to even mention businesses of smaller sizes that are consuming information, with billions more coming. And that creates an opportunity for what I consider consolidation. Because silos ain't going to be the answer. It's never been. Let's take a look at what we serve and what we do in our homes. What if we were to add a room to the house, maybe son's bedroom? What if we let our child pick the utility of their choice for adding water or adding electricity? What if we were to add another garage to the house and let the contractor pick any utility of their choice to add that garage? It won't lead to the most economical model. It may be most convenient to the person who's authorized or who's going to live in the room, but it's not going to be most cost effective. It never is. That's why service providers exist. They consolidate and provide a unified service to the customers, to the consumers. That's what's missing because of consumerization. That's the opportunity that's been created. Now, the same thing is showing up within IT now. It's called shadow IT. And I'm surprised only 1/3 of the customers say they have it. The reality is every customer does. And think about what happens when a single line of business brings an application into the enterprise. It simply means that the costs are as high as possible. The environment is secure to the lowest common denominator security, and still there's poor satisfaction by the end users. Must change. So how to change it? How to win? To me, this is the case of someone coming up with a vision and a platform that can consolidate. But nothing is possible without having a great team. So let's dig into each one of them. The vision. So on the vision, if you think about what's needed here, it has to serve two major stakeholders. the end users themselves, and the IT environments that play a critical role in this entire solution. The end users. We are all end users. We are all used to something that ends up driving us to the technology. When we go to a Best Buy or pick a store of your choice, we have choice. We have flexibility. When we go to the app store of your favorite mobile device, we see simplicity. We see an experience that's tailored for us. And when we come to work, we sometimes get a big, thick, red or black brick. We see no choice, no flexibility, no experience that's tailored for us. So it needs to be a balance. It needs to be a balance, what I call consumer simple, the experience that we are used to in our consumer lives that's designed for end users, and at the same time, enterprise secure, cloud-like security built for the enterprise, available as a service. If that's the vision, it must be able to cater to deliver the heterogeneity that has come to exist on both ends. Applications, starting with the applications that are powering the businesses today, most likely even written for the client-server era, or maybe web era, to now the emerging applications that are changing the workflows for the future, mobile and cloud. And on the other end, we talked about unpredictability and heterogeneity for devices. Devices that are fixed and will continue to be fixed because of a purpose and the function they perform when an employee has to do a repeated task on a single large screen. To devices that are mobile, that carry in our pockets or our bags and provide us with that instant productivity when we need it. And this cross-section of devices and applications is what we have to deliver as part of the vision. To do so, clearly, you need a platform. Now, to do a platform, we can go back in time and learn from it. In fact, many of you are used to doing this, consolidation of multiple services delivered to multiple customers and clients using a platform. It's not new, especially for you. Now, in terms of electricity, what we do now from utility providers is they're able to consolidate electricity coming from multiple sources, all sort of generated from multiple different mechanisms and delivered to any home. They provide metering, they provide access control, they provide security, they provide certain SLAs. For television, maybe we'll fast forward and talk about more modern technology, especially after sort of the previous session talked about how the broadband channels opened up. We'll talk about DirecTV. They pioneered this, in my opinion, where there was any type of content that was getting built, maybe the micro content at the time, although we have seen much, much more micro content now that's getting built from content providers, aggregated, controlled, secured, and delivered to people's homes easily. People bring their own TV. Well, maybe in the modern times, the definition of TV services is even more complex. With Hulus and the Fire TVs and the Fire Sticks of the world, which are building these beautiful services where anyone who can fire up a content can plug it in and have a platform that provides security, service delivery, reliability to people, not just bringing their own TVs, but bringing their own screens. So, this is the inspiration that we use within VMware to build our platform. Now, at a very high level, there are three fundamental layers of this platform. That's On top layer, it's about what end users see, their experience. And it's contextual. When you go and see Amazon TV's experience or Hulu's experience, it's not the same if you open up a laptop versus a tablet versus a phone. It's contextual. They're even able to detect what degree of quality of service needs to be sent onto the device based on where you are. They can even do access controls based on the country you're in or the time zones you're in, based on what you're allowed to watch and not allowed to watch. It, of course, works with any content. There is an abstraction tier that's built. No one is building the content with, unfortunately, the same format. They're the ones who are able to abstract it somehow and be able to communicate at an abstraction layer across content providers. And lastly, they have the security and control for each of these content providers, because at the end of the day, it's their name on the service that they have to provide. Something fundamentally changed, which has enabled us to do the same for IT. Doing this, I believe, in the past would have been very, very difficult. But now, each of the major platforms that exist today, and I suspect any platforms that are going to emerge in the future, is going to have one thing that's common. And that is the APIs that they provide to manage them. The prior versions of Windows and the desktop environments never did. But today, iOS, Android, Windows 10, Mac OS, Chrome OS, you name it, they all come with the API tier that you can use to control, manage, and query the information on the device. As a result, a layer of abstraction can be built. And that's what a platform needs to do for a workspace, what we call digital workspace, where you have on the top end identity and contextual-based experience that delivers any type of application. And on the bottom end, a unified way of managing and securing the device and the information on the device. And that can work across any type of device now. Because of this abstraction tier, it works whether it's a desktop or a mobile. Or, I would even argue, it extends to any of the IoT devices that will emerge in the future that don't have potentially any screens. This fabric, what we consider the platform, enables us to build amazing new services. It's not something that you would expect or be familiar with for VMware. We're oftentimes known for our virtualization technology that has become the platform for the data centers. About 3 years ago, VMware made a big strategic bet about where the technology is headed in terms of mobile and digitization. And we expanded our portfolio in terms of what we call end-user computing, or mobile solutions. And we acquired, at the time, a much smaller company called AirWatch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not. It's become the dominant platform, the platform that can now communicate with any device in an abstracted manner. It's the leader in its space, and we have leveraged that technology and platform to enable a range of use cases, from mobile devices to kiosks to bring your own devices to IoT devices. Building a set of services on top of that for our customers. Workspace services, security services, endpoint management services, all enabling the redefinition of how the workspace of the future has to be. This is the only way customers can sustain the heterogeneity that's not going to stop on applications and devices. This is the only way you can have an abstraction on the devices and control over the applications which are continually diverging. And we believe there's going to be winners and losers in the industry because of this. We are seeing tremendous momentum with this platform and solution in the marketplace, with customers fundamentally changing their customer experiences to their workspace experiences, enabling people to be mobile and embracing IoT, rather than having silos, consolidate them, reducing the cost, improving security, and delivering next-generation experiences. Now, VMware is known to be an innovator. We did that with virtual compute. We've done that with virtual networking, and we are now doing it for end-user computing and mobile solutions. It's over $1 billion business for us, and we are continuing to grow it going forward. And service providers, telcos, and of course, larger IT are major customers and partners of ours. Nothing is possible without a team. I get this question a lot. This is a significant transformation. What do you suggest we do? What action do we take? So I thought I should cover it, because I strongly believe that all of you are going to walk away with this being a no-brainer as the future, and you may want to participate. In terms of a team, I'm lucky to be a part of one that's extremely strong, and I fundamentally believe that this being a change is not an easy one to pull off because teams don't necessarily embrace it easily. Now, all of us probably have our favorite sports team. Me being from the Bay Area, and I know they're not the most beloved team, but I love the Warriors. They're not well known. They weren't well known at all. In fact, they probably never ever had any kind of a significant success. But their story is extremely inspirational and something to learn from. So I'll share it. A few years ago, a couple of VCs who actually got tired, maybe they're still investing as venture capitalists, but they got tired of that and decided to go into sports. They loved the Warriors, but Warriors weren't a great team. They followed the principles of technology, which is to continually disrupt. And they said there have been changes that have been made into this sport where we can have a disruptive solution. They looked at some amazing statistics. It's been a Wall Street Journal study. They looked at some amazing statistics and found out as to people were shooting actually very, very close to the three-point line, much higher percentage than they should ever, because the percentage completion for 3 points or a 2-point when you're close to three-point line is exactly the same. They said they're going to disrupt the game. Instead of getting the big bodies, which has been the foundation of basketball winners for years, they were going to go completely away from that and spread the field, spread the court. They were going to get three-point shooters and encourage everyone to take three-point shots. No other team in basketball has had more than one three-point shooter. They said they were going to get 3. A disruptive approach means that they needed mobilizers. They needed mobilizers. They had to win one victory at a time and capitalize on opportunities as they came. They're extremely particular on who they hire. I've spoken with them and who they recruit. And even though you think that they have loaded up the talent, they have been extremely selective on who. Because you probably wouldn't have thought someone like Stephen Curry or Thompson as being the A-grade players before they started playing for the Warriors. The point here is that for this massive of an opportunity, it can only be realized with the right team that consists of mobilizers and can take a milestone by milestone win. There's a lot that can be told here on the team. but having the right person and the right mobilizers will get you to win because the change is here. I started the talk by saying work and life are two ends of a rope. I've been fortunate leading this specific division at VMware, building this solution and changing and transforming by delivering great business value to our customers. However, what I feel inspired by myself along with the rest of the team is in addition to delivering that value to the customers, we're also changing lives. Changing lives because every time we solve this problem for the businesses, it's the extra moments for individuals that they can spend with what they care most about, their families, their loved ones, and their passions. So with that, I'm going to close by saying workspace of the future is going to be very different, and hopefully your mind got a little bit of yoga in terms of how collectively we can potentially have a significant impact on this opportunity, because this is going to happen whether you take part on it or not, because it makes sense for consolidation on this service in the future. Do we have time for questions, or should we? Two questions. Okay, we'll maybe take a couple of questions.
So the AirWatch that you had acquired, that's kind of the overlay of the network, correct? That you're.
Good question. So, as I mentioned, each of these platforms provide an API to manage them, query them in a standardized format. And when I say query, you may want to check what's the context of a user before you enable access to an application. Is the user in the right time zone? Do they have the right GPS locations? Do they have the right network, et cetera, et cetera? AirWatch is that platform that goes on top of any device and gets that context. And if you have to secure the information, it protects the information on the device. And if by any chance the device becomes rogue or the employee with the device becomes rogue, it wipes it away. So it provides one abstracted mechanism to deal with the heterogeneity of devices in a unified fashion. Now, we have taken that technology, which started out simply for securing the information on the devices, and built additional services on top of it, which is consumer-like experience for workspace services, access and identity management built on top of it to enable an access experience and security that's needed, and extended it to IoT so that workspaces can enable IoT with the same tier as they are enabling mobile or Windows 10 devices.
So it's a security layer, basically.
It's the API abstraction layer that enables context in and security down.
And then that's connecting up through an LTE type wireless network, AT&T, Verizon, or whoever.
It's network agnostic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned rogue employees, but also would that apply to an employee who's not necessarily rogue, but instead decided that they wanted to jailbreak their device and start sideloading apps, and they don't realize there's a ton of malware out there?
Yeah, great question. There are a range of scenarios that as an IT or an organization you have to protect against, such as jailbroken devices, such as, because they may not be rogue and they may not have an misintent, but they just decided to do so mostly because these devices enable you to do things that employees don't understand the impact on. You can assess all of those threats because of the context and then take actions appropriately. And the actions could be restrict access, disable access, wipe the device, completely cut off the device from the network, et cetera, et cetera.
It's probably worth mentioning from a compliance standpoint that a lot of companies are out of compliance. They don't realize they are because they're not using some kind of MDM solution, and they do have a bunch of jailbroken devices on their network with tons of malware on them that they're
That's the
not even
absolute basic use case, which is simply to protect and detect whether you have secure or not. However, we have customers that go far beyond that. To me, that's a foundational entry-level sort of a how customers, they pretty much all use it in some shape or form. I think it goes far beyond it by enabling the true access experience beyond that.
So thank you so much, Sumit. This was extremely educational. Please give him a hand.
Thank you so much.